Hello and welcome to the New World Review, your source for everything anime and manga. And today it's time to delve into one of the most intriguing existences within the entirety of Hunter x Hunter, which resides within the second youngest child of Silver and Kikyo Zoldyck, being the infinitely powerful Nanika. And in this video, we are going to get into the gritty of exactly what Nanika is. Because for anime-only fans, that little factor might still remain a mystery. But in the manga, we've actually been given an astounding amount of information to work with, leading to what I feel is a very, very solid conclusion. Now, when Alluka and Nanika were introduced into the story, it was like nothing Hunter x Hunter had ever seen before. Because what they, or I suppose what Nanika specifically represents, is a sort of godlike power that not even a being like Meruem could have hoped to attain. Nanika is, for all intents and purposes, capable of doing absolutely anything, whether that be something simple like conjuring a new computer, or quite possibly wiping out all existence in the blink of an eye as we know it, Thanos style. So Nanika really is like nothing the human realm has ever seen. It is a potentially extinction level threat that has somehow appeared amongst the Zoldyck family, and there are some pretty good reasons for both of those. First up, we have the rather straightforward facts revealed in the extras of Volume 33 that Nanika is indeed from the Dark Continent. And it also has another little handy word next to it, being I, and you'll understand why that is extraordinarily important very shortly. But this makes everything a shade clearer, because everything we know regarding the colossal landmass that is the Dark Continent, of which we actually know quite a bit, and I do have a video detailing all of that information if you'd care to watch, but where Nanika stands out as an apocalyptic presence in the human realm, they are simply part of the regular ecosystem of the Dark Continent, as almost every known being from that location has the potential to wipe out all of humanity, even the more mundane looking creatures. So Nanika's from the Dark Continent. That's fun, and probably the only decent explanation that this world could have given us. But in the end, that doesn't really give us any new information regarding Nanika. What I want to know is exactly what Nanika is and how it made its way back to the human settlement in the center of Lake Mobius. And luckily enough, that information is more readily available than you may think. To begin this exploration, I'd like to introduce or reintroduce you to the idea of the Calamities, also known as the Five Threats. And these terrifying specimens are life forms from the Dark Continent that humanity has been forced to bring back with them after an unsuccessful voyage. I guess you could think of them as a curse or a punishment inflicted upon those intended to teach humanity a lesson. This practice is implemented by an even more mysterious being known as the Guide, who is summoned by a group of magical beasts known as the Gatekeeper, or Gatekeepers plural, I'm not clear on that. But they are currently the only known method of humankind actually gaining passage to the Dark Continent to begin with. However, with this in mind, it would make total sense for Nanika to have appeared in the human realm as a result of one of these ill-fated expeditions. And rather fascinatingly, there just so happens to be one calamity that fits the description of Nanika pretty damn perfectly, being the gaseous life form known as I. There's that word again, I. Now, before I continue, I do want to mention that Togashi has never in any way, shape, or form confirmed that Nanika and I are the same being or the same race of being, whatever it may be. However, the overwhelming evidence is about as close to confirmation as any of us should need. So to begin, I is allegedly the result of a voyage made by the Mimbo Republic, who were seeking out a mother solution for all sorts of liquids on the Dark Continent. And that voyage returned with a total of 3 survivors. Remember that number, 3. It may or may not be very important later on. But for now, let's also take in I's full title, which is Codependence of Desire, a gaseous life form I. 2 very, very interesting words there, because Nanika exists as a codependent being, and its power is based on the idea of wishes or desires, both from Nanika and those around them. Quick semantic note as well, being codependent is not the same as coexisting or symbiotic. In fact, codependency is a much more unhealthy relationship, as it generally involves one party encouraging or enabling a negative feature of another, such as addiction, immaturity, or any number of mental health issues. And that very much rings true to some degree in the case of Alluka and Nanika. Nanika has effectively possessed Alluka, and in return, that forces her to comply with Nanika's wish-granting powers by having Alluka make escalating requests of those around her in direct correlation to the scale of the previous wish that had been granted by Nanika. And yes, I referred to Alluka as her, and no, I'm not going to get into the great gender discussion of Hunter x Hunter in this video, because that's a topic for an entirely different day, but for now, that's how it's going to be. In any case, the wish granting is more complicated than I've made it out to be. Essentially, what needs to happen is 3 of Alluka's requests need to be met, which can be very simple, like pick me up or carry me over there. Rather easy and innocent desires, at first anyway. After the 3rd request has been fulfilled, Nanika will emerge, and at this point, whoever happens to be in the vicinity at the time can ask Nanika for literally anything, and Nanika will grant it. Kind of like the Eternal Dragon, but without so many fussy rules. Also, interestingly, this isn't something you pick up on when reading or watching the English version of Hunter x Hunter, but Nanika has a particular speech quirk when granting a wish. In the Viz manga translation, Nanika says K, sort of referring to a slightly more casual, lazy, and even possibly more childish way of saying okay. However, in Japanese, Nanika says I. Oh, look, there's that word again. Which is very much the exact same sort of speech quirk though, except it's in relation to the Japanese word hi, which every basic anime or manga fan will know simply means yes. So ai is sort of this cutesy way of saying yes, but in addition to that, it just so happens to be the name of one of the 5 threats, as well as their distinctive call, which you can see in that one panel we have of the gaseous life form. See that speech bubble right there? It says I. So that's one hell of a mighty coincidence we have going on here so far. The fact that Nanika is a codependent wish-granting powerhouse who frequently says I, while the Calamity I is also a codependent desire-focused I-saying life form. Weird, eh? Well, the coincidences don't even stop there. To get into our next one though, let's first reiterate the kicker of Nanika's power, which is that the greater the wish granted was, the harder Alluka's next request will be to fulfill. For example, on one occasion, a Zoldyck family servant requested that Nanika make her a millionaire, a wish that was met with a torrent of currency showering down upon the two of them. However, as a result, Alluka's next requests were taken to a whole new level, as she asked for a liver, intestines, a spine, and even a brain. None of which she ended up receiving, which was very rude of the person Alluka was asking. I mean, to simply just refuse all of her requests like that? Ugh, what kind of person would do that? But this brings us swiftly to what occurs if a person refuses a total of 4 of Alluka's requests, which is that they are immediately killed in some of the most brutal ways imaginable. And not only that, but depending on the scale of the wish, one death is not enough to balance Nanika's power. And those closest to the person who refused Alluka's requests will also immediately be killed until an appropriate cost has been reached. So for example, in the case of wishing for $1 million, or not dollars, whatever the currency of Hunter x Hunter is, Jenny I guess? Given that Jenny is almost a 1-to-1 representation of Japanese yen, then I guess it would have been wishing for 1 billion Jenny. But I digress, the cost for such a wish would be the death of 67 people, including the servant who denied Alluka's requests. But what I'm more interested in is the method in which Nanika kills, which is very vividly demonstrated to us on one occasion where another servant was ordered not to fulfill Alluka's desires and paid the price by being crushed until they were nothing but a puddle of blood and limbs splattered across the floor. That, or we've also seen Nanika's victims get wrung to similar effect, kind of like trying to get water out of a towel. And that brings us to the containment facility of the 5 threats and their victims, which were showcased in chapter 341, featuring many examples of people both having been crushed or wrung to death, in exactly the same fashion as we have been shown Nanika capable of doing. Furthermore, Jing Freaks has rather straightforwardly stated that there have been confirmed victims of both Pap and I in the human realm already, and the victims I'm referring to definitely don't fit Pap's established methodology, leaving us with a very, very narrow pool of options. A pool of 1, really? And look, at this point, I would never say that it's 100% guaranteed, simply because it hasn't literally been stated. But everything we've been shown regarding Nanika and I effectively confirms them to be the same life form. I will say that the only part that doesn't quite obviously add up yet is the fact that I is a gaseous existence, but does not appear that way when possessing Alluka. If anything, Nanika seems more like a broad spiritual creature, but it could be a simple explanation of I infiltrating its host via its gaseous form and then taking root in them, transforming into a new codependent creature. And yes, you can put stock in other ideas, such as the fact that there may very well be more calamities from the Dark Continent present in the human world that we simply aren't officially aware of. And the Chimera Ants are a very good example of that actually. They just sort of appeared in this world and very rapidly presented themselves as a threat to all humankind. So it's not impossible that Nanika is, despite every similarity to I, an undocumented existence. But my final question in regards to Nanika might clear this up somewhat, because it's also very much worth asking why Nanika possessed Alluka Zoldyck to begin with. And at first it would seem like a nice storytelling convenience. You know, the one power that could save Gon just so happened to be right within Killua's reach. But there may be more to the Zoldyck connection than that. In fact, we have at least one confirmed instance of a member of the Zoldyck family visiting the Dark Continent, being Zig Zoldyck, who joined a young Isaac Netero and Lyn Orderve. A trio, if you will. And if you remember earlier, I stated that the voyage that returned with I had only 3 survivors. Now, as fun and mind-blowing as that may be, I should point out that this is by far the weakest piece of evidence I'll be presenting in this video, because it has also been stated that amongst those 3 survivors, each of them had gone mad, and furthermore, Jing referred to the trip that Netero took with Zig and Lyn as undocumented. So it's quite unlikely that I and Zig are connected in that way, but still I thought it would be worth mentioning that a Zoldyck has been associated with the Dark Continent, given that a creature from said continent has now possessed one of their family members. In any case, there you have it though. As it turns out, Nanika, for such a mysterious being, is actually the life form from the Dark Continent that we happen to know the most about. With the exception of the Chimera Ants, I guess. And luckily for the entire human realm, Killua seems to have Nanika under control for now. But that pretty much does it for this exploration of exactly what Narnika is. If you enjoyed this video and the content this channel produces in general, then please do consider donating to the New World Review Patreon, because the support of all of you amazing people is what continues to make this channel possible. And if Patreon isn't quite your style, then please do leave this video a like, share, or subscribe, because it also helps support this channel an incredible amount. And if you'd like to join the fun at any time, then please do head over to my Discord server, where a wide array of shenaniganry takes place on a daily basis. And finally, please do comment with your thoughts on Narnika. This has been the New World Review, and I'll see you next time. Do you plan to go into other manga like Black Clover, or any more My Hero Academia? I'm not sure, to be honest with you. I mean, I've never read Black Clover, despite a whole ton of you guys telling me to, and I'll probably get around to it one day, but My Hero Academia, as much as I love it, I don't know how much I'm going to feature it here. It's a bizarre series because I go through highs and lows with it, where I'll be completely obsessed one day and then just forget about it the next. Kia ora! Just wondering when you first started watching Hunter x Hunter, and at what point did you, I guess, fall for the series, so to speak. Keep up the quality content. Kia ora, my Kiwi friend, thanks for the kind words. And the point at which Hunter x Hunter really got me was the beginning of Heaven's Arena, and specifically the introduction of Nen. It was such a perfect hook, giving you this grand tournament-ish, almost game-style scenario, combined with starting to uncover the power system that the series had been toying around with in the background up until that point. Plus, Gon vs Hisoka was absolute brilliance. Did you know that Bungee Gum has the properties of both rubber and gum? You have blown my mind.